The United States State Department has issued a safety advisory urging American citizens to leave 15 countries in the Middle East immediately due to escalating conflicts. This warning comes as ongoing military operations between the United States and Israel against Iran continue to intensify. According to the advisory, an estimated 500,000 to 1 million Americans are believed to be living or traveling within this region. The department advises that citizens depart via commercial means while flights remain operational, given disruptions in air travel services due to recent strikes and missile attacks. Conflict has also prompted other governments to take action for their nationals. France's Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot announced plans to use both commercial and military flights to evacuate French citizens from the area. The UK, meanwhile, urged its citizens to register with local embassies to receive support and updates on the situation. As the crisis unfolds, American embassies in affected countries are providing critical information and assistance to help ensure the safe departure of United States nationals. However, due to ongoing challenges and disruptions, the State Department is emphasizing the urgency for Americans to act now to secure their travel arrangements out of these high-risk areas. The situation remains fluid, with officials continuing to monitor developments closely and provide updates as necessary. Recent U.S. and Israeli strikes against Iran have caused internal divisions within the Democratic Party, particularly over a proposed war powers resolution aimed at limiting President Donald Trump's authority to engage in further military action. Democrats are grappling with how to respond as some members, especially those closely aligned with Israel, express hesitation about supporting the resolution. For example, Representative Greg Landsman of Ohio and Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania have both voiced opposition to the measure, citing concerns that go beyond party lines. The potential impact on upcoming primary elections is also a significant concern. In states like North Carolina and Texas, where Democratic primaries are approaching, candidates are navigating how to address public sentiment without alienating constituents who support Israel's position. Early polls suggest a majority of Americans disapprove of the military action in Iran, which could influence voter behavior during these critical primaries. As Congress debates the war powers resolution, Democrats face the challenge of balancing unity against Trump with addressing the diverse views within their party and among voters regarding U.S.-Iran relations and support for Israel. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer has called on his colleagues to stand with Americans who don't want war, highlighting the ongoing political pressure to act decisively. The situation remains fluid as Democrats navigate these complex issues, potentially affecting both legislative actions and electoral outcomes in the coming weeks. Iranian drones struck the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh, escalating a conflict that has entered its fourth day and now involves multiple countries across the Middle East. The attacks follow ongoing airstrikes by the United States and Israel against Iran's nuclear facilities and other strategic sites. In response to these strikes, which began on Saturday, Iran has targeted several locations, including the U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia, and continued with retaliatory attacks within its own borders and beyond. Hundreds of people have lost their lives, primarily in Iran, while 6 American service members were killed in recent operations. Conflict has also led to evacuations across multiple Middle Eastern countries as tensions persist. Explosions continue to be reported from various locations in Tehran, indicating that the fighting remains intense. Meanwhile, global oil prices are soaring due to disruptions in shipping routes through the Strait of Hormuz, a critical artery for international oil and gas trade. The U.S. State Department has ordered the evacuation of non-emergency personnel from several countries in the region. The situation is still evolving, with no clear indication of how long the conflict will continue or what measures may be taken next by involved parties to de-escalate tensions. President Donald Trump is hosting German Chancellor Friedrich Merz at the White House today to discuss escalating tensions with Iran. The high-level diplomatic meeting, which took place in the Oval Office this morning at a.m., marks Merz's third visit to Washington since taking office just 10 months ago. The meeting comes amid joint U.S.-Israeli military action against Iranian targets and ongoing concerns about regional stability. While Germany has expressed understanding for these actions, Chancellor Merz has also warned of potential risks associated with the conflict's escalation. Speaking on Sunday, Merz emphasized that while Germany shares an interest in ending Iran's regime and its nuclear ambitions, caution is needed regarding further military interventions. Discussions between Trump and Merz are expected to focus on balancing support for allies with managing the broader implications of the conflict. This meeting reflects continued diplomatic efforts by the United States to secure international backing for its actions against Iran. Meanwhile, also navigating Germany's nuanced stance on regional stability and potential risks. The situation remains fluid as both countries continue to evaluate next steps in addressing tensions with Iran and maintaining global security interests. The U.S. economy is grappling with heightened uncertainty as tensions escalate between the United States and Iran. This leads to a sharp rise in oil prices. Recent attacks on Iranian facilities have pushed benchmark crude oil prices up by over 6%, settling at $71.23 per barrel. Economists caution that the economic impact of this conflict will depend significantly on its duration. A prolonged war could push oil prices above $100 a barrel, exacerbating inflation and dampening business confidence. This scenario would lead to higher costs for essential goods such as gasoline, which could rise to an average of $3.50 per gallon. In the current economic environment, already strained by fluctuating tariffs and high inflationary pressures, any prolonged instability in oil markets could severely impact various sectors, including air travel and shipping. Economists warn that reduced business confidence due to heightened uncertainty may result in decreased investment and hiring activities across industries. The situation is still evolving, with global markets closely monitoring developments for further signs of stability or escalation. President Donald Trump has indicated that the United States is capable of sustaining military operations against Iran for longer than previously projected, extending beyond the initial 4 to 5 week timeframe announced earlier this month. This development follows the death of Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei and subsequent retaliatory attacks by both sides. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu defended the decision to engage in conflict with Iran, citing concerns over potential expansion of nuclear and missile sites within the country. However, Netanyahu did not provide concrete evidence to support these claims. Satellite imagery analyzed by the Associated Press showed limited activity at 2 Iranian nuclear sites prior to the war. This leads some analysts to question the urgency of Israel's actions. The ongoing conflict has already led to evacuations of 4 nationals from affected regions in the Middle East. South Korean officials have evacuated over 80 citizens from both Iran and Israel to ensure their safety amid escalating tensions. Additionally, crude oil prices jumped more than 8% due to uncertainty surrounding global supply chains and the potential for further disruptions. As geopolitical tensions continue to rise, key stakeholders are grappling with the implications of prolonged military engagement without a clear resolution path in sight. U.S. officials are now emphasizing an indefinite commitment to counteract Iran's capabilities. Meanwhile, maintaining vigilance against further escalations that could impact regional stability and global energy markets. Minnesota has filed a lawsuit against the federal government to prevent the withholding of $243 million in Medicaid funds. The state, led by Attorney General Keith Ellison, argues that the Trump administration violated due process and constitutional rights by imposing retroactive conditions on funding without proper evidence. The lawsuit targets the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. It names Dr. Mame It Oz as CMS Administrator and Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. as HHS Secretary in their official capacities. The legal action was initiated after Vice President J.D. Vance announced last week that the administration would temporarily halt some Medicaid funding to Minnesota over fraud concerns. Minnesota claims it has a strong track record of fighting Medicaid fraud and points to successful cases won by Attorney General Ellison's office. Without these funds, Minnesota may be forced to cut health care services for low-income families or reduce other government services. A family of 4 qualifies for medical assistance with an income at or below $42,759 The threatened cuts represent approximately 7% of Minnesota's quarterly Medicaid funding. The state argues that the federal government failed to provide adequate details about its decision and violated due process by withholding funds without a fair hearing. This situation highlights the ongoing legal challenges facing the administration's efforts to combat misuse of public funds across states. As the case moves forward, officials will continue to monitor developments in federal court in Minneapolis. In a tragic development, 6 American soldiers were killed when an Iranian missile struck a military facility near Kuwait City on Sunday. Initially reported as 3 fatalities, the death toll increased after more casualties were confirmed by the United States military on Monday. The strike occurred amid escalating tensions between Iran and the United States following ongoing conflicts initiated by both countries and their allies. The Pentagon has stated that a U.S. bunker was hit during Iran's retaliation for earlier attacks. While details of the location are not fully disclosed, reports suggest that some soldiers were in makeshift office spaces within Kuwait. United States Central Command confirmed that more than 13,000 American troops are stationed in Kuwait as part of their defense relationship with the country. The incident highlights growing concerns about military preparedness and safety for U.S. personnel abroad during times of heightened conflict. Additionally, 3 United States fighter jets reportedly went down on Monday due to a friendly fire situation, according to U.S. officials. All pilots survived the incident after ejecting safely from their aircraft. Iran's state media claimed these jets were shot down by Iranian forces without providing evidence. This event underscores the complex and volatile dynamics in the Gulf region and raises questions about the security of military installations amid rising tensions between regional powers. The situation continues to develop as both sides assess the implications of this tragic loss of life. The United States has imposed sanctions on Rwanda's military and force senior commanders for allegedly supporting the M23 rebel group in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. That's despite a peace deal brokered by the U.S. last December. The Treasury Department announced the sanctions on Monday, targeting Rwandan Army commanders Vincent Nyakarundi, Ruki Karusisi, Mubarak Muganga, and Stanislas Gashevi. The move comes amid ongoing military operations that Washington says violate the peace agreement between Congo and Rwanda aimed at ending conflict in eastern DRC. According to U.S. officials, Rwandan troops have been actively engaging in combat alongside the M23 rebels since December's accord, undermining efforts for stability in the region. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent emphasized the need for an immediate withdrawal of these forces from the eastern part of Congo and cessation of support for the rebel group. Rwanda has swiftly rejected these accusations, claiming that its military presence is defensive against threats posed by armed groups within Congo's borders. The Rwandan government stated that sanctions are one-sided and misrepresent the conflict's reality. The renewed tensions highlight a complex geopolitical landscape in eastern DRC, where control of mineral-rich areas remains a significant point of contention. With critical minerals like copper and cobalt at stake, both sides have considerable economic interests at play. This development underscores ongoing challenges to peace efforts and regional stability in the Great Lakes region, as officials on all sides continue to assess next steps amid heightened tensions and mutual accusations.